What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Sports Junkies Podcast. NBA video is up. It is Wednesday, so you know what that means. You know it means it's time to dip into the latest of the NFL scoop. Just me today. You guys know the new vibes on the channel. I think the first thing we should talk about is Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, it was reported that he went in to meet with the Seattle executives, and then he came out of there frustrated, and then it was reported that he requested a trade like a day or two later, which has now been shot down and said he did not request a trade. Said he's okay in Seattle, but he's up for a trade. I think that's the new statement that they're making right now. My initial reaction to this is I'm not sure if it's in his best option. To be completely honest, I like when Deshaun Watson requests a trade, I'm like, getting out of Houston could be great. You know what I'm saying? But when you have someone like Russell Wilson requesting a trade to get out of Seattle, I sit and think and wonder if there really is a better option for him to go to other than Seattle. I mean, I'm looking at a few teams that I feel like he could go to and make a huge impact. One of them being the Bears, with the Bears' already great defense. He wouldn't have many offensive weapons. He'd need some offensive weapons. And then, I'm looking at, some people are saying the Cowboys. I'm like, well, we got to see what the Cowboys are planning on doing with Dak Prescott. And then another one, a big one that everybody knows, that this team just needs a quarterback in order to be great at football, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. But I'm seeing a lot of people are saying like, hey, let's get Russell Wilson to the 49ers. But I feel like if the 49ers should be going after any quarterback they can, because Jimmy Garoppolo just simply isn't the answer. You put Russell Wilson on a team like the 49ers, that team becomes dominant off the rip. He's going to have some offensive weapons. He's got Deebo Samuels. They could probably get a better running back than Raheem, but I think Russell on the 49ers would be a great team. But also, like I said with the Bears, I think the Bears would be a great fit for him. But ultimately, I'm going to say this. Look, the Seattle Seahawks are one of the top premier teams in football. Yes, they get to the playoffs. Yes, he has one Super Bowl win. Yeah, he struggles. They struggle in the playoffs. But you got to consider, listen, this Seattle Seahawks team has been a premier team in football for a long time. They took a couple down years of being a kind of like a basic football team, and they still managed to be good. They got a great coach in Pete Carroll. Their offense is perfect, I think. They could add some pieces to this offense to get them a little bit better, but I think the defense is where this team is struggling. Their defense just simply isn't good enough. I'm not sure if they fired their defense coordinator or not. Let's hope they did. But there's a lot wrong with their defense, and ultimately it's their defense that's keeping them back. You can't let Jared Goff light your team up in the playoffs. I'm sorry, you can't let Jared Goff do that. Jared Goff got traded this offseason because he's just not a good quarterback. He's not good enough. You let Jared Goff come out with an injured hand and just destroy your team, that's just simply not good enough. So I see Russell Wilson's anger in this team, but then I think back and I'm like, look, you could be Deshaun Watson right now. You know what I'm saying? And Deshaun Watson's in a pretty bad situation, and I hate that for Deshaun Watson. Hopefully he gets free. He said, look, man, I'm not playing here. I don't want to play here. He told the coaches he didn't want to play there. I don't think they really want to trade him because, it's not often you can get a franchise quarterback at such young an age, and then he just wants to, he wants to leave. But you're like, look, it's, how hard it is to find a franchise quarterback. It's pretty hard in the NFL. So it's going to be tough to see what Houston does. But I think when it comes to Russell's situation, instead of him telling the executives how to fix the offense, he needs to be telling them, like, look, man, put all your focus into this defense. The Seahawks already have an elite offense. Add a top tier running back to that team, and it's as dangerous as it gets. They've got great wide receivers. They've got a great quarterback. They've got a decent, good enough offensive line. This is a great team for Russell Wilson. I don't really see the point of him wanting to leave this team. I'm looking at, I'm looking at all the trade destinations from ESPN. I'm looking at all the trade destinations from Bleacher Report. I'm looking at all the trade destinations from Sports Nation, and I just simply don't think that he would be happier on any of these teams. I'm like, a lot of people are talking about the Bears. They're talking about the Bears for Deshaun Watson as well. And I'm like, look, man, you go to the Bears with a pretty poor offensive line, not good enough wide receivers because Allen Robinson's leaving. And Allen Robinson's been one of those underrated, wide receivers. Maybe he could stay if they got a good quarterback, because look, the Bears have one of the top defenses in the league, but their offense is just so poor that it just doesn't help their defense. Kind of reminds me of like when the Chargers had the number one defense and the number one offense, but they had the worst special teams, and it kept them from being good, good at football. So it's some of those things you got to look at. But I'm like, look, you want Russell, you go to the Bears. It's just more disappointing. It's more losses, and simply it's just not going to get better. So ultimately, I think the best thing for Russell Wilson to do is to simply just stay in Seattle. I think right now that is Russell Wilson's best option. And then you got people saying like, oh, well, we got the Dallas Cowboys here. Well, the Dallas Cowboys would honestly, if he were to leave the Seattle Seahawks, I think the Dallas Cowboys would be one of the best options. I mean, he stays in the NFC. I mean, he does that with the Bears as well, but he stays in the NFC, which I'm sure he wants to do because the AFC is becoming kind of powerful. You got a lot of powerhouses in the AFC, but like, if you go to the Dallas Cowboys, I think Dallas has one of the most talented rosters in the league. I think Russell Wilson would be happy on Dallas. They'd have to be able to pay him. You know what I'm saying? I think they can pay him. They should be able to afford him if they were trying to offer, Dak Prescott as much money as they were. But I think the question is now, let's see what Dallas does with Dak Prescott. Let's see if they make a push for Russell Wilson, because Dallas could simply send Dak to play for the to Seattle, see if they can get a trade going. Or I don't think they'd be able to, because Dak doesn't have a Prescott. So I meant a contract. I said Dak doesn't have a Prescott, but Dak doesn't have a contract, so I don't even think that'd be able to, I don't think that'd even be able to go through. I don't think that works. But I would like to see Russell on the Cowboys. I think that'd be a great fit for him. I think that would be actually an upgrade over playing in Seattle, because Dallas is, what I'm saying, it's crazy, because I don't want to say Dallas is a quarterback away from being dominant, because ultimately I don't think it's the quarterback situation. When it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think Dallas is the quarterback position. I don't think Dak is the problem. Dak can throw 30 touchdowns. Dak can lead the league in passing yards. And then people want to say, well, it's Dak Prescott holding the team back. It's not Dak Prescott. It never has been Dak Prescott. It's Jerry Jones. He cannot own a team. He doesn't know what he's doing there. He has one of the talent. He has one of the most talented, if not the most talented roster in the NFL, and his team misses the playoffs and play as bad as they do. And I'm like, look, you lose Dak last season. You bring Andy Dalton in and some other guys, and the team doesn't get better, which you expect, because moving on from Dak Prescott, I think the fans of the Cowboys are starting to say, well, look, we may need him. You know what I'm saying? We need Dak Prescott, or we need somebody who's going to be as good as him. The good thing is they will have a top pick in this draft, so they can draft a quarterback, or I don't know, they might be able to find a way to pull some strings and get Russell Wilson on there. But ultimately, I think Russell Wilson going to the Cowboys, I think it makes the Cowboys better, but I don't think it makes them one of the premier teams in the league. It could, though, but it's really just, Jerry Jones, he has his hands on this team a little too much. And I get it, he owns the team, so his hands should be on it, but I think he does a lot, way too much than he should from an owner aspect. And I think Russell going there, I don't think it'd be any better. I don't think really many people want to play for the Cowboys. They are America's team, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think many people actually want to play for the Cowboys when you consider like Jerry Jones and what he does. And then another team people are talking about is the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm like, look, I don't even want to go too deep into this, because I'm like, putting Russell Wilson on the Raiders isn't doing anything. The Raiders have a decent roster. They may be able to compete better with the Chiefs, but when it comes to the playoffs, I don't see the Raiders as being an actual threat. And then there's the Saints. Drew Brees just retired. Obviously, he began to digress, or actually, Drew Brees hasn't officially retired, but I'm pretty sure he's retiring. He didn't look like he wanted to play again after that, that L he took against Tom Brady and the Bucks. But I think the thing what I want to look at is offensively. You got Kamara back there. You got Jameis Winston. You got Taysom Hill. Two other quarterbacks that could be playing for the Saints team, that could lead the Saints team. I think they said Jameis Winston's, looking to be the top guy. But I think you add a guy like Russell Wilson, the Saints will probably be in the same situations they've been in. I think, honestly, putting Russell Wilson on the Saints is pretty much him being on the Seahawks. I think the Saints and the Seahawks are pretty much the same team with or without Russell Wilson. I don't think that team gets better. I don't think they get worse. It's just the New Orleans Saints, and that's just the way it stays. I think the best option for Russell Wilson is simply to just stay on the Seahawks, to be honest. They're a few pieces from fixing this defense. Well, not even a few, probably maybe a little bit more than a few, because their defense was pretty bad. But I think they're a few pieces away from being really top contenders in the NFC. I mean, really, it's just chasing the Bucs, and the Bucs have a super team. I guess we're, taking notes from the NBA now, and the Bucs have a super team. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, how this unfolds. I don't think Seattle will trade him because it wouldn't make sense for them to trade him. I don't know. How old is Russell? 29, 30, 31? If I'm Seattle, I'm not trading Russell Wilson. He said he's disappointed in the team. And they don't have a first round pick this year after picking up Jamal Adams, but Russell Wilson's a Super Bowl champion. Obviously, he wants to be a 2-time Super Bowl champion, and I think the best way for him to do that is to simply just stay on Seattle. I don't think him leaving Seattle makes it better for him or for anyone else in the league, honestly. I don't think any team gets better if they add Seattle. The teams that can actually, if they add Russell, the teams that can actually trade for him. I'm not saying like Russell wouldn't go to the Steelers or something and make that team, a lot better. I'm just saying, like, I don't think the teams that I feel like he could go to realistically will actually get better adding Russell Wilson. But speaking of the Steelers, that brings us to our next topic, and we got to talk about the Steelers situation with Ben Roethlisberger. Look, man, if you've been on the channel for a while, you guys know I'm a Steelers fan. I rep black and yellow. I'm saying? I'm a Yinzer. And I'm here to tell you right now that last season was the most disappointing season I've ever witnessed. And some people might bring up that what season was it? 2017, where we were 12-4, 13-3, or something like that. We get a first round bye, and then for the first time in a long time, we get a first round bye. We go to the playoffs and get absolutely smacked by the Jaguars. For some reason, we couldn't beat the Jaguars to save our lives. No, don't get me wrong, they had probably the best defense of all time with some of those players they had on that team. They got a lot of Hall of Famers that could potentially be on that defense, but it was it was so disappointing to watch that team go and just play like that. And it comes down to the whole team being ready. I'm not even gonna say the whole team being ready. It comes down to Mike Tomlin, and it came down to Ben Roethlisberger. Okay, let's be realistic here. Ben Roethlisberger, in some of the big games that the Steelers lose, most of the time it's because of poor play from Ben Roethlisberger. Now, don't get me wrong, I could make a whole statement about Randy Finkner and how Randy Finkner's fired now, or I could make a whole statement about how Mike Tomlin never has this team ready against teams that suck. You know what I'm saying? The Steelers were 7-8-0 when we faced the Cowboys. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this team may actually be good at football. And then we play against the Cowboys without Dak Prescott, with a third string quarterback who I don't even remember what his name was. And I remember us struggling for 3 quarters against that Cowboys team. That game right there woke me up and said, well, we thought this team was good, simply they're not. And I know a lot of Steelers fans will call you a fake fan if you say, like, this team isn't as good as you think they are because they're undefeated. We were 11-0, and I was like, look, man, this team isn't good. I'm telling y'all right now. We struggled against the injury-riddled Ravens. We ended up losing to the football team. The team was simply, and we lost that in prime time. This team just simply wasn't good enough. We kept getting embarrassed in prime time on prime time football channels. You know what I'm saying? And it was really embarrassing. And ultimately, it boiled down to the offense just not being ready. We wasted a top tier defense. Half of our players were on their contract years. I think this was the best roster the Steelers have had since 2017. I think this was the best. This was our best chance. We had Ben back, a quarterback who was decent enough, to maybe win us a couple games. We had Juju. We had Chase Claypool, an excellent draft pick. But the Steelers, the Steelers going to do their thing when it comes to drafting wide receivers. They don't miss. If they draft a wide receiver and you don't think you like him, it doesn't matter. He's going to be great. You're going to love him. And then, TJ Watt on the defense, Cam Sutton, playing as great as he was. This team was so great. You know what I'm saying? We had all these contract year players showing out, trying to get these new deals. We had Bud Dupree looking his best, I think, after being, mediocre for so long. But I'm just going to come out and say it right now, man. The Steelers are in a sticky situation with Ben Roethlisberger. Okay? I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Ben Roethlisberger is no longer the answer for the Steelers' problems. And I know a lot of fans and I know a lot of people like to look at it that way, but I'm here to tell you right now that it's not going to work. Let me give you a great example of a team being ready for the future, even though they had a quarterback who was playing great. And that team has just recently won a Super Bowl. That team is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs were already a dominant team. You know what I'm saying? They had Tyreek Hill. The Kansas City Chiefs had constant years of 10-6, 12-4. They just didn't have that edge that would really put them over the top. And it necessarily wasn't Alex Smith, because Alex Smith was a baller. You know what I'm saying? Before the injuries and everything, Alex Smith was a baller. But yet, when the draft came around, even though this team was still pretty good at football, the Chiefs traded up and drafted Patrick the GOAT Mahomes at pick 10. I'm talking about a desperate pick for a quarterback. They saw something no one else did. And they traded up and they draft Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes becomes possibly the most talented quarterback in the NFL right now. Well, I'm not even gonna say possibly. He is the most talented quarterback in the NFL right now. He will be for a long time. And he doesn't start his first year. He doesn't start. He plays only in that final game of that season, I think. And the next season he starts, and the Seattle Seahawks are this dominant team. And you know what makes me so mad about that is because I'm like, the Steelers haven't done that. The Steelers, the most desperate I've seen the Steelers in the draft since I've been a fan is when they traded up to take Devin Bush. Other than that, the Steelers have not been as desperate as I feel like they need to be. We've slowly dug the team into a hole. Don't get me wrong, the defense is set for success. We got to bring back Kim Sutton. We got to bring back TJ Watt. We're going to lose Bud Dupree, but I feel like Alex Highsmith is a great player, so it's all good. But the offense, we have dug it into a hole. There is no reason we shouldn't already have a backup beast quarterback on our roster who's ready to take over this team. Because Ben's what, 38, 39? Ben's pushing 40. And when he came back this season, I thought maybe, okay, this team could be great. You know what I'm saying? Top defense in the league. You know, not even statistically wise, but when I'm talking about players, I think the Steelers could potentially have the best talented defense in the league. And then I think offensively, our offense can be good enough to win games with Ben back. And they were 11-0. And like I said, when that Cowboys game happened, that's when I lost all faith in the Steelers' ability to win football games. We should have drafted a quarterback a long time ago. I don't know what quarterback it would have been, but I think we should have been drafted a quarterback. Even this year, I think we have to go for a quarterback. And a lot of people are saying, look, well, we need a running back. Our run game sucks. Our O-line sucks. Look, in the first round, if we can pick a quarterback, specifically Trey Lance, a guy who doesn't turn the ball over, who's got a quick release, great pinpoint accuracy, I think we have to pull the trigger on it. We need to be desperate like we were when we drafted Devin Bush the last time we had a first round pick. We have to be desperate. We got to be desperate like when we gave a first round pick to the Dolphins for Minkah Fitzpatrick. The Steelers have gotten more desperate recently because this Steelers team used to really rarely make good trades that actually benefited the team. It was really only the draft and, some minor free agent signings. The Steelers still haven't been, desperate in free agency. But I think at this point the Steelers got to get desperate. And when I say desperate, I mean on the offensive side of the ball. Some of these players need contracts that we don't need to re-sign. James Conner, he has to go. I want him out. Villanueva, I want him out. Mike Hilton, I love Mike Hilton, but Cam Sutton's younger and he's better in coverage. We got to keep Cam Sutton. We can't let Cam Sutton walk. I think Mike Hilton is the best to walk, and I feel like Mike Hilton will ask for more cash anyway. So it's best to just bring back Cam Sutton, and then we got to re-sign TJ Watt, and TJ Watt's going to want a thick deal. And when I say thick, I mean thick with 2 C's. But let's get back to the Steelers situation with Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger was like, look, I'm contemplating retirement. And every fan's instant reaction is, it's not even every fan. It's more of a civil war going on right now in Pittsburgh because you got fans saying, okay, we need you to retire in order for us to become a better team, in order for the Steelers front office, Kevin Colbert, Mike Tomlin, and Art Rooney II to start pushing this team, start becoming more and more desperate. Because right now, the Steelers have no urgency to get this team on the right track. The Steelers have no urgency to find a quarterback to take up after Ben. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph sucks. You know what I'm saying? Duck sucks. Josh Dobbs sucks. We signed Dwayne Haskins. Come on. We signed Dwayne Haskins. And I don't want to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to diss Dwayne Haskins because I think, with a new team, we can give him a fresh start and see how he plays. And he signed for an absolute minimum. So I'm like, it's not a bad signing, but it's not a good signing either. It's just like a basic signing. It's a Steelers signing. But I think when it comes to Ben Roethlisberger, when it comes to me on what side I'm on, do I want him to retire or do I want him to stay? The answer simply is, I want him to retire. I'm on that side of the fans where I'm like, look, in order for this Steelers team to start pushing urgency, in order for us to start being desperate in the draft, more desperate than we are, we gotta start making desperate moves, and that'll start when Ben Roethlisberger retires and the Steelers realize, oh my God, we need a starting quarterback. As long as Ben Roethlisberger stays, the Steelers will have no urgency. Now, Ben Roethlisberger at most is going to play one more season. If he comes back this year, this will be his last season. I don't think he'll play again after this season because he's like, look, I really want to win, but the Steelers are in no position to win at all. Not with Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger no longer has the tools and necessities to win the Steelers a championship. And I know that sucks to say because I love Ben Roethlisberger. When he retires, I will continue to love Ben Roethlisberger because when I became a Steelers fan, he was the quarterback. And at this moment, when he's going to retire, I'm still going to be a Steelers fan and he's still going to be a starting quarterback. But at this point right now, for the Steelers to become a better team, we need Ben Roethlisberger to retire and we need the Steelers to become more urgent in the draft so that we can get better, so that this team can get better at football. The quarterback position has changed. Okay, you can no longer get these unathletic quarterbacks. Now, don't get me wrong, Tom Brady just won a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, he had a super team. So it's really not, it's not like something that, it's not something that I'm going to look at and be like, oh my God, this Tom Brady win after 40. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, I'm not, this is a great Super Bowl win for Tom Brady, but I'm not looking at it like, oh my God, the GOAT, the GOAT wins another, the GOAT wins dude, this was a super team. It's not impressive. It's a Super Bowl win. So obviously, what does that word mean? But I'm like, that's getting me back to my point. Oh, these unathletic quarterbacks, this is not working anymore. You think Drew Brees just retired because Drew Brees realized that. He realized that, you can't just have unathletic quarterbacks. He realized like me staying in New Orleans isn't going to benefit New Orleans at all. So what did he do? He retired. And that's smart of Drew Brees because he sets the Saints up. The Saints now have to be desperate into looking into the future for that team. The longer Drew Brees would have stayed, they would have just kept, getting to the divisional round and getting their cheeks clapped every single year. But now that Drew Brees is gone, they're going to try to benefit that team. They're going to try to fix that team. They're going to try to have that team ready for next year like a pit stop at NASCAR, ready for the next lap. That's how it is, and that's what the Steelers have to look at with Ben Roethlisberger, and that's what I want the fans to understand. I don't dislike Ben Roethlisberger. I love Ben Roethlisberger. I think he's been a great quarterback. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's a 2-time Super Bowl winner. He's played in 3 Super Bowls. But Ben has to go. Ben has to retire in order for the Steelers to become more urgent and for the Steelers to become better because they haven't been urgent with him. So maybe we can push them into getting urgent without him. If Ben stays, we draft a running back. We go O-line the entire draft. Boom. We maybe the team gets better. If he leaves, we have to find a way to trade up, take a quarterback. Potentially, it's going to be Trey Lance. Mac Jones is not going to be one of the top guys. I saw some people saying Justin Fields. That's impossible. Trey Lance or Mac Jones are our only options, and I prefer Trey Lance. I like more what I see from Trey Lance. But if Ben stays, we got to still trade up and try to get Najee Harris, second round Creed Humphrey, some good O-linemen. We got to move fast. We got to become more urgent if the Steelers team wants to be good at football. But enough of the Steelers, man. Let's jump to the next topic because I kind of stuck on that for a little too long. All right, but let's talk about another player who has been mentioned with the Steelers. We'll get into it. Okay, J.J. Watt. The J.J. Watt sweepstakes are continuing. Okay, and apparently the top team right now for J.J. Watt is the Cleveland Browns. And if you go down on the channel, there's a video where I said, look, this Browns team is about to shock a lot of people. I think the Browns right now could be the best team in the AFC. They don't have Odell. Odell's coming back. You add a guy like J.J. Watt to that defense to play with Myles Garrett. who knows how dangerous this team can be. This team is dangerous if they can add J.J. Watt. You know, J.J. Watt's getting older. He's a bit injury prone, so he's scary. You know what I'm saying? But he has that football attitude. And, you know, having a guy like J.J. Watt on your defense is great for that team, you know, for that Browns team. He said he wants to play for a contender. And I'm like, well, there's only a few teams you really want to go to. If you're J.J. Watt and you want to contend, you want an opportunity at winning a Super Bowl, there's only a few teams you can go to. You know, you got the Browns, you got the Bills, you got the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? If he goes to the Chiefs, he'd have to sign like a veteran minimum. It wouldn't be able to be like a long-term deal, you know what I'm saying? But I think when if I'm JJ Watt, I like the idea that he wants to go to the Browns. And then for some reason the Steelers are in there. I'm like, well, the only reason JJ Watt would want to play for the Steelers is because his brothers play for the Steelers. And I'm like, I like JJ Watt. I think JJ Watt would fit on the Steelers, but there's just no way I want us to sign JJ Watt. I don't think it's the best move for the Steelers, especially when I just got done talking about the urgency the Steelers need. An urgent move is not grabbing JJ Watt because our defense is already great. And we're talking about how much is he gonna want? You know what I'm saying? We're talking about letting Bud Dupree go, but you want to bring in JJ Watt, who I'm sure is probably gonna want even more money. You know, he may take a slight pay cut, but it's not gonna be anything where, you know, we can't, you know, I don't want to see JJ Watt in Pittsburgh. And I know that's tough to say, but I think if he really wants to contend, the Steelers aren't your option. Now, if you want to play with your brothers, cool, but you're going to have to take a pay cut because there's no way the Steelers can offer him an actual contract. And I think it was already reported that he wanted a regular contract. He wasn't going to take a league minimum. So it wouldn't make sense for him to go to the Steelers because the Steelers don't have enough money. Now, going somewhere like the Browns, you know what I'm saying, that works. The Bills, I don't know if the Bills have the money for it, but they may. He says he wants to contend. I'm like, that's your best option. I mean, a team that we were talking about earlier who needs to build off that defense, the Seattle Seahawks, that's a team I could see him going to. The 49ers, if they can grab a quarterback, that's a team I could see him going to. And if the 49ers can grab J.J. Watt, and they can find a way to pull off a trade to bring in Deshaun Watson, which I'm really hoping they do because we need more teams to be good at football. They could reunite in San Francisco, and I think that would be great for the team. You know what I'm saying? I think that San Francisco team would be deadly, you know. But right now, I think his best option if he wants to contend, there's only like 3 teams you can go to. I got the Bills, I got the Browns, but I think the Browns are definitely his best option because when I'm looking at AFC teams, I got the Chiefs, I got the Browns, I got the Bills. When I'm looking at NFC teams, I'm looking at the Bucks, I'm looking at maybe the Seahawks, and who knows, maybe the Rams now that they have a good quarterback. Rams will be a great team to go to, not to mention they have the number 1 overall defense. So it's going to be interesting to see what JJ Watt's thinking, but we'll get into that later. We'll see how things turn because I don't know, when does free agency start? Free agency starts in about a week or two, right? Like March 10th, March 17th. So it's going to be interesting to see how free agency unfolds for JJ Watt. I know right now, though, they said it's reported that the Browns are the top team, and him on the Browns are just getting better and better and better and better. And I like what I'm seeing from the Browns. And I'm a Steelers fan. I'm supposed to hate this team, but man, I can't lie. The Browns, they have that urgency that the Steelers lack. They have that urgency that the Ravens lack slightly, and they definitely have that urgency that the Bengals lack. So it's good to see the Browns on the rise. I think the Browns right now, second best team in the AFC in my opinion. And if they add JJ Watt, they could become a team that can actually literally compete with the Chiefs. So it's going to be interesting to see that. But let's talk about one more potential free agency move that I think makes no sense. I wish JT was here because he would this is his guy, you know what I'm saying? He follows Aaron Rodgers wherever, so we could talk about where he thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to go. But would it make sense for Aaron Rodgers to leave Green Bay? I mean, let's be real here. And when I was just naming off those top teams in the NFC, I don't know how Green Bay slipped my mind because that was stupid. But I don't think Green Bay's getting better. Actually, I think Green Bay is getting worse, and I think right now they're hanging on the thread by the likes of MVP Aaron Rodgers. I don't think this team is going to get better than they are right now. And this team right now isn't good enough to win a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Well, at least not while the Bucks have a super team running around on the loose. But I think right now Aaron Rodgers is like, there was people saying, or there was Aaron Rodgers saying he didn't know what the future for him held, whether it was in Green Bay or anywhere else. Let me tell you this right now. I know there's that frustration when you lose in the playoffs, but I'm going to tell you right now, the main reason Aaron Rodgers is frustrated is because of what happened in that Bucs game. The decision to kick a field goal, losing the game, on 4th and goal from like the 10-yard line. I mean, you got to go for it, but I mean, was it the best option? The world will never know. And it's okay to be frustrated, Aaron, but let me tell you right now, the last thing you want to do is leave Green Bay. There's no better options for you. I'm telling you. And I'm putting Aaron Rodgers in that same statement as I'm putting Russell Wilson. You guys are on two of the premier teams. Aaron Rodgers may be on, his best team. I don't see Aaron Rodgers going anywhere else and turning that team into a Super Bowl contender. I think he's won a Super Bowl this late in your career. I think the best thing for Aaron to do is to just ride it out. You know what I'm saying? Get your defense on track, because your defense lost you a lot of games this season, or 3 or 4, whatever. And I think you need a few pieces on offense. You know what I'm saying? You got some great running backs. You got some good. You got a good wide receiver. You need another. Please get him some wide receivers. They do that, this Green Bay team could take that next leap and get to the Super Bowl. They need to get that offense. Offense needs to be way more consistent than they are. The defense can get better. I don't know specifically what they need. Maybe it's the D-line. I think they can get better, though. Maybe they will. But it's going to be a lot interesting. But I'm going to tell you right now, the last thing Aaron Rodgers needs to do is leave Green Bay. And on that note, man, I'm going to wrap it up. This has been the first episode from the Sports Junkies side of the channel for the NFL episode, or NFL segment of Table Talk. This has been your boy Kid. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you're thinking down below. Make sure you guys go check out the Instagram at the Sports Junkies Podcast. Actually, no, it's just Sports Junkies Podcast. And I'll see you guys on Friday with some more news as we dip into the NCAA. I know that's where a lot of our fans are from, and I can't wait to get back into that. But until next time, guys, it's been your boy Kid. See you soon.